Hey, it's Owen at Happy, and today we're going to have a look at the brand new Animal Factory Godeater Plus bass pedal. Animal Factory is a pedal company out of Mumbai, India, founded by Aditya Nandwana in around 2016. Focused on sonic destruction in both pedal and Euro-rack form, reflecting the sonic and sensory overload of their home city. The Godeater Plus pedal is a maximalist distortion and saturation unit for bass, and other things too, capable of subtle boost and fuzz through to squished and belted distortion. It's an expansion on the regular Godeater of a few years ago, which is the smaller 8-knob version. What we've got here is the Plus version with a massive 12 knobs and 2 buttons across the face that took another 3 years to design and build. And it's a very well engineered piece indeed, with an output level high enough that they warn you to try not to blow your amp with it. The Animal Factory company is all about noise and nasty sounds, and I'm 100% down to mess around with something that brutal. Founder Addy is full of great quotes. About the company, he says, you can play a $6,000 Les Paul through their Baron Samedi pedal and it will sound like bees in a tin can or something. Now that's the kind of pedal maker attitude I can get behind. He's even got a demo of Michael Hack from Einstürzende Neubauten playing through one of his units, if that gives you an idea of what they're going for. Now, there's a lot of knobs on this thing, so let's take a quick walkthrough and try and get an idea of what's going on. It's very deep. Running from the top left across, gain. This is our main distortion control and acts after the cutoff knob. Clip 1. This controls the first of the 2 clip sections. To the left is symmetrical diode clipping, and roll it to the right and you get asymmetrical multiband LED clipping. Centered, they're in the off position. These only really kick in when the level you're running into the pedal is fairly high. You'll definitely hear them and see these knobs light up. Tone. This is a straight up tone sweep, but it does interact with the bass knob, which we'll get to. Clip 2. This is the second of the clipping stages. These two interact, with the second one being the most audible. Dirty. This is how much of your dirty signal is output through the pedal. Pre-gain. This is the level of signal coming in and hitting the pedal. Turn it up and you'll get some nice Zener diode saturation on the way in. Cutoff. This is a high-pass filter for the input signal that sets the level of bass in the pedal. Bass. This controls how much bass is in the tone sweep knob above, so you can crank the treble on the tone knob and still add in extra bass for even more brutality. This is post the gain, so this is how much bass comes out of your output signal. Clean. This blends in some clean signal to your output for extra clarity if you so desire. After this, most of the features are for the sidechain section, and it's a little complex, so bear with me. That is activated here with a switch down here. The LEDs at the top will light up red rather than blue when you're over in this mode. Now let's skip around to the side real quick for a moment to see the sidechain input modes. Over on the right side, we've got a switch for our sidechain input type, be it CV or audio. And next to this is our sidechain input filter switch, which is either low pass, band pass, or high pass. When you switch it to audio, the LED will light up red. Now let's look at the buttons on the front. Target is a toggle that lights up an LED beneath the pre-gain, cutoff, or tone knobs. This indicates which feature the sidechain is affecting. The direction button controls which way the sidechain is affecting the selected knob. It'll be pushing it forward if the LED is on the right below the selected knob, or backward if the LED is on the left side. When you hold down direction, it enables crossover mode, which is actually pretty cool. This will send the distorted highs down the dirty path and clean lows down the clean path. And if you have swap mode enabled by holding down the target button, that switches this to distorted lows down the dirty path and clean highs out the clean path. And when you don't have crossover mode enabled and you enable swap, it switches the cutoff knob to a low pass filter instead of a high pass. Frequency. This selects which frequency the sidechain is focusing upon. Sensitivity. This is the threshold for when the sidechain starts working. You'll see it lighting up when it kicks in. Decay. This is how long the effect stays on for, like in a synthesizer ADSR. Sidechain simply enables sidechain mode down here, and bypass turns this true bypass pedal on or off. Down the left side of this thing, we've got an envelope out 3.5mm jack and 2 switches. One which changes what comes out the auxiliary output, from a mix of dirty and clean signal to straight up either dirty or clean. Our next switch over here is for output config, either split or normal. Across the back of this thing, we've got our power supply input. You can send this thing 9 to 12 volts, so long as it's at least 500 milliamps. And the cool thing is any polarity will work in it. Next we've got MIDI, so you control the foot switches and buttons with that, and write automation for anything the sidechain controls. Below this, a USB-C input for firmware updates in the future. Then we've got our main input, a sidechain external control input, an auxiliary out for splitting the signal, and a main out. It all comes in a cool custom box. Let's have a quick look at the guts. Most of what's happening here is hidden away, but I spoke with a ditcher from Animal Factory to tell me what's going on. And he said, the core of the distortion circuit is symmetric CMOS overdrive from a standard hex inverter. The diode types are standard 4148 silicon diodes and multicolored LEDs. We are famously allergic to mojo parts and vintage bullshit. Except for tubes, we love tubes, being the source of success or failure of boutique pedals. Nice. The other thing about this pedal is it sounds great enough to easily run without an amp. The tone coming out is incredibly amp-like. Today I'm going to noodle around the bass, straight up DI it in, while Righty demonstrates what this pedal can do. And there we have it, the Animal Factory Godeater Plus pedal, a maximalist bass saturation and distortion that can quite easily be used on any source. Now I've played a number of bass fuzz pedals in the past, and often you can be left with mud, or your definition disappears, whereas the Godeater Plus really preserves touch and tone, and gets to all kinds of brutal if you want it to. There are a lot of knobs across the front, but don't let it dissuade you. Hopefully our walkthrough will help you decode that and whip up some great destructed sounds. And thankfully, it's easy to whip up a great sound before you even figure out what half these knobs do. Just remember, when it lights up red, it's in standard mode, and blue is sidechain mode. Furthermore, you don't just have to limit it to bass usage. It'll happily work on anything you throw at it, and by adjusting the pre-gain knob, you can pat it down easily to accept line level signal. The Godeater Plus will set you back around $580 Australian, and will be available for sale in the next couple of weeks. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time for more stuff.